Hey, how's it going everybody? Welcome back to Aussie Fish Keeping. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at 7 of the fastest growing plants that you can keep in your aquarium. We're just going to jump straight into the video today, so without any further ado, let's get on to the top 7 fastest growing aquarium plants. Okay, so to kick the list off, we're going to start from number 7, and 7th place on our list is going to be Dwarf Sagittario. So, Dwarf Sagittario, or more commonly known as Dwarf Sag, is a super popular beginner aquarium plant. So, not only is Dwarf Sag a super easy aquarium plant to look after, but the reason it's on our list today, obviously, is because it's a super fast growing aquarium plant. So, Dwarf Sagittario is a little bit unlike the rest of the plants on our list, and it doesn't actually grow to great lengths or to great heights, but it actually grows a lot by producing a lot of runners, which grow pups on the end, which then spread the plant. And this plant can actually spread quite prolifically if it is in the desired conditions. But yeah, if you do keep your Dwarf Sag in healthy and stable water conditions, you will find that it can grow a few centimeters per day, although originally when it first is establishing in your tank, you'll find that it will actually start sending out runners, just to sort of spread the plant and establish a more stable plant before it begins to grow taller. But yeah, in 7th place on our list is Dwarf Sagittario. So moving up our list into 6th place, we've got actually a super unique plant, and this one is going to be Lotuses and Lilies. So Lotuses and Lilies aren't particularly that popular in the aquarium hobby, and they're actually mainly used in obviously ponds and larger setups, although there are a few dwarf variants that are suitable for smaller aquariums, so the most notable being the tiger lotus and banana lilies. So both of which are actually super easy to care for, and they are really stunning plants that can grow super fast in the right conditions. So a unique thing about these plants is that they're not generally sold already in a pot, and instead they're sold by the bulb. So the bulb is pretty much where the plant originates from, and it will sprout leaves from it, and then obviously it will develop a root system in your aquarium. So once the bulb has established a sustainable root system in your aquarium, it will start to completely take off and grow super fast. So with really high lighting, tiger lotus in particular may actually grow a few inches per day, but under standard aquarium lighting, it will usually only grow a maximum of 1 inch per day. Obviously, this is still a great length for a plant to grow to, especially daily. There's not many plants like it in the aquarium hobby, and I think it's a super unique showpiece plant, and it's also something that's really good if you want a fast growing plant in your aquarium. So in 6th place on our list is Lotuses and Lilies. Moving on to 5th place on our list, we have a super popular aquarium plant, and this is Java moss. So this is actually going to be the only moss variant on this list, but I had to put it in because Java moss is a super common aquarium plant in the aquarium hobby in most countries, and a lot of people who have a fish tank have at least kept this once. It grows super thin leaves, and it generally forms large dense clumps when it's given the correct growing conditions. But it can also be used to cover wood and other ornaments and stuff in your aquarium. And not only that, but it's a super easy aquarium plant to care for, and it doesn't take much to help this plant grow super fast. So when you first put this plant in your aquarium, you will find it will take around 3 weeks before it starts actually growing, just because it has to properly establish to the newer conditions. Although once it does start growing, you will start to find around weekly that it does start to really multiply, and you get really nice large clumps of Java moss in your aquarium. Java moss can typically only grow around 1 to 2 centimeters per day, but it will multiply a lot over time, and it will continue to snowball until it's a really nice big clump of moss. So for that reason, Java moss is the 5th place on our list. Moving on to 4th place, I think this is a really awesome aquarium plant, and this is going to be Ambulia. So not many people actually keep Ambulia in the aquarium hobby, but I think it's a super cool plant just because obviously it is a super fast growing, adaptable and super beautiful plant that's perfect for any level aquarist. Ambulia does super well in a low flow tank, and it's actually naturally found in quite tannic water, so it is actually the perfect plant for any blackwater aquarium. Not only this, but Ambulia is a super great plant to keep in a heavily stocked tank, just because it minimizes large amounts of ammonia in the water column. But enough of all that. So Ambulia, if given the correct conditions, it can actually grow around 1.2 centimeters per day, which is around ½ an inch in length. So this plant obviously won't grow as tall as the other plants, but it will bush out a lot, and you'll find it can really fill in any blank spaces in your tank. So that is why in 4th place on our list we have Ambulia. Moving on to 3rd place on our list, I think we have the most common beginner aquarium plant, and this is Wisteria. Water Wisteria, or Hygrophila deformis, is a super popular aquarium plant, obviously because of its care level, and this makes it a super great plant for any beginner just because it's a super fast growing plant and it doesn't require any crazy need. Not only this, but I think it is a super awesome looking plant just because it has the 2 different leaf variants. So one being the broader leaf and the other being the more skinny dissected leaf. So I believe the more dissected look can be achieved in a high light environment, whereas the broadleaf variant generally comes about in a lower light environment. So Wisteria will grow in pretty much any conditions. As long as you have a super stable water column, you'll find that it does drastically grow in your aquarium, and you can find that it will grow anywhere between 1 to 3 centimeters per day. So obviously that is a super fast growing aquarium plant, and that is why Wisteria is 3rd place on our list. Moving on to 2nd place on our list, we have my absolute favorite aquarium plant, Foxtail. So Foxtail and Hornwort are quite comparable species, and I actually keep Foxtail in pretty much all of my setups, and I think it's a super awesome plant just because of how fast growing and low maintenance it is. So Foxtail is actually more commonly used in ponds as a floating plant, although it obviously is an awesome addition into any small or large aquarium. If Foxtail is given the proper conditions, it can grow anywhere between 1 to 3 centimeters per day, although it can produce large amounts of thick bushy foliage, which can actually quite quickly take over a small aquarium if you don't stay on top of trimming. So for that reason, 2nd place on our list is going to be Foxtail. Moving on to number 1 spot on our list, the fastest growing aquarium plant that you can get in the aquarium hobby, in my opinion, is Elodia. So Elodia is by far the most common aquatic plant in the world. They use it for science experiments, people use it in their aquariums, and it's just a super well-known aquatic plant. So Elodia is what's known as a waterweed, which pretty much means it is a super fast growing and spreading aquatic plant, and it's actually quite an invasive species in many countries around the world just because of how fast growing it is and how it can quite quickly take over any water source. So a super unique feature about Elodia is that it's one of the few plants that produce really large amounts of oxygen. So this makes it the perfect plant for any bowl or ponds that lack filtration or aeration, just to provide a source of oxygen into the water. But yeah, if provided with the optimal growing conditions, Elodia can actually grow around 1 inch per day. So just to put that into perspective for you guys, that means that this plant, if provided the correct conditions, can grow around 365 inches per year. And if you simplify that down, that's around 30 feet or 9 meters long. Obviously, that's an absolutely ridiculous length, and this plant can achieve that quite easily if it is kept in correct and stable water conditions. But you will find it will still grow quite fast regardless of the water conditions. Although obviously if you want to achieve the really fast growing and lush foliage, you will want to provide it with pretty stable conditions. But because of its fast growing nature, the number 1 spot on our list goes to Elodia. With that being said, that is actually going to bring us to the end of today's video. I hope you all really enjoyed today's video. I always love making these videos for you guys. If you haven't already, please make sure to go subscribe. But with that being said, I'll see you guys in that next video.